What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Viseland. Mikey, what is going on? What's happening in your world this week?
Just insanity, Jason Weisenberg. Just insanity. Right before we were set to record, a couple major things coming down the pipeline. Lots of trades happening in the next little while, and right before the draft. Still not a ton of draft trades, but yeah, there was one that will affect the draft, as we just found out. And yeah, do you want to just kind of give a rundown of these trades that just kind of happened in the last little day or so?
Yeah, it's been like it starts with the Lakers getting rid of trading Danny Green, moving to Oklahoma City, giving up the 28th pick, getting Dennis Schroeder. So, giving them point guard. Got Phoenix going ahead, making the move for Chris Paul. So you got Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton now.
Yeah.
And
See, I think where you threw me off with the whole Phoenix thing last week was you said it was Chris Paul for DeAndre Ayton.
I literally probably just read that like really quickly.
No, but I even read the article and it said like Chris Paul playing with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. Like
sometimes I don't read the whole thing.
Yeah, it was it just would have been well. One, you would have had to have the salary around that, and then you're trading like, albeit like I know there have been kind of questions about DeAndre Ayton long term, but he's been pretty damn good, and yeah, really young guy.
Yeah, you get a great point guard, but like yeah. I think like Kelly Oubre, moving over to Oklahoma City. I think that gives him some potential to get some burn there. But yeah, like I think there's some interesting trades.
You're saying burn in Phoenix. It became kind of clear that Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson were working out pretty well. And Kelly Oubre is a guy that's making around $15 million, and you're still not sure he like really affects winning one way or the other. He never passes. There are things there. Plus, he's a guy that Oklahoma City could possibly get some value out of as well if they just want to go the full rebuild. Ricky Rubio's always been a player who is just probably a little above replacement level and like a solid point guard to come in there. Also, just not Chris Paul level.
Not Chris Paul, but I mean,
Chris Paul is the guy that's going to help. Like, so with Chris Paul, the ultimate, you're paying him a ton of money, and then the other thing is how much longer is he going to be Chris Paul? And you're hoping at least a couple years where he's healthy. And as we saw this past year in Oklahoma City, before the season, I don't believe many people felt like Oklahoma City was going to make the playoffs. And they pushed Houston to like the absolute limit. So
it's funny. They had that kind of like 3-point guard thing going on with Paul, Schroeder, Shea, and then it's like they got rid of 2 out of the 3.
Danilo Gallinari helped a lot too. Steven Adams, like they had a really nice starting 5.
Oh no, totally. I think
the 5-man lineup, and yeah, I know the 3-point guard lineup worked really well when they were out there together.
But it'll be Rubio and Shea, I guess, just running things. I think Schroeder to the Lakers. I mean, I think that's a good move for the Lakers.
I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure. So the thing with Schroeder to the Lakers is like you look on paper and it looks fine because Deni didn't play exceptionally well last year, but he's also a guy who has like just tons of playoff experience. So you're going to lose Rondo. Like, is Schroeder going to make up for all of the guys that they're likely going to lose? I kind of felt like most of the guys on the Lakers would just kind of run it back and take their player options. But it seems like there are a lot of guys who have not taken their player options that I've been kind of surprised about. One I was not surprised about, as you brought up to me the other day, Anthony Davis. He was always not going to take his player option and just re-sign for more money. But yeah, we have 2 more moves to announce, and I'm sure by tomorrow when we release this Viseland on a Tuesday, unusual for us, but we have an announcement to make that we'll make in a little while. And so it'll be all over the place, but these just happened. Shams, Woj, bombs, just coming out of the woodwork.
Duck for cover. This is the season for that.
Oh yeah. So right before we decided to record, there was a trade with the Portland Trailblazers and the Houston Rockets. The Trailblazers will get Robert Covington. This will happen after the draft, but they've
agreed in principle.
Yeah. And the Blazers will trade Trevor Ariza, their 16th pick this year, to the Rockets. And then I'm hoping, I haven't heard the level of protection or if there's protection, but I'm guessing they'll use protection. And it is the 2021 first-round pick as well. So the Blazers upgrading a little bit. Covington a little bit younger, had that great playoffs with the Rockets, and then was also one really good defender. Blazers have been dying for the support at the forward spot and a guy who could play 32, 34 minutes. And then, so Covington can play either forward spot, even was center and good rim protection in a pinch as well. Good defender. You hope the shooting is more like the playoffs than it was during the regular season. But even if they get just a pretty solid level from him there, that's at least going to make Damian Lillard happy. And I'm guessing this is a trade that was made to make Damian Lillard happy, and also signals the likely end of the Houston Rockets as we know them.
Because the other big piece of news today is James Harden turning down.
Well, we'll get into that in a little bit. I want to get through.
You want to marinate that up? Okay.
We'll save that for afterwards, okay, bud? Let's talk about the other big trade. Drew Holiday, who was rumored to be going to the Suns, the Clippers, pretty much every team besides this team. I think the Bucks were probably in there. So Drew Holiday to the Bucks for Eric Bledsoe and George Hill. And it seems like an endless supply of first-round picks. It seems like at least 3, and then there are a couple pick swaps in there as well. But, so the Pelicans just got themselves a lot of draft capital. They lose Drew Holiday, who, as we have seen, can be a great guard defender, a really good offensive player as well. And
was an all-star,
shown, one-time all-star, has shown that he can do good things in the playoffs. They do lose 2 really good guards as well, and a lot of picks. However, to end off this whole thing and to kind of maybe see where they were going with this is one, Drew Holiday does seem like an upgrade. Even though Eric Bledsoe was second team all defense, I think most people are saying Drew Holiday, better defender, more tried and true. You expect more from him in the playoffs. And the word is, and this is Mark Stein reporting this, that Giannis might be signing the 5-year Supermax with the Bucks after they did this deal. So if that is the case and they can keep Giannis, then it's absolutely worth it. Now, getting on to what Jason was talking about with as far as me kind of preluding to Houston kind of nearing the end. Yeah, the word was that Russell Westbrook kind of wanted out. Daryl Morey obviously taking the job or stepping down and then taking the job with Philadelphia. Steven Silas being the new coach, and word was that they were going to work it out, and they were all in. And that is famous last words, because James Harden now wants to be traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the thing is, and this is him turning down a $50 million extension.
2 years, $103 million. The first player in the league to be making $50 million a year.
Yeah. And, obviously one of the top 5 or so players in the league.
That's all right.
And it can just run your team's offense, gets to the free throw line more than anybody. He's an incredible offensive talent. And if he did go to the Nets, then they're thinking it would be a package of likely Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, and Torian Waller-Prince, and some picks. And then I heard Harden and possibly PJ Tucker. And let's be real, if he did go to the Nets, that trio of offense would be just out of this world.
And there'd be a lot of guys that would want to sign for the veterans minimum to play, get those kind of guys too.
They still have DeAndre Jordan, who may not be the player he once was, and you think that Jared Allen is indeed a better player. But if you get a chance to get James Harden along those 2 players, you take the chance. The thing is that Harden still has another year on his contract after this one. And I think that the Rockets can get better deals. Like, they don't have to do this deal. So I just don't know really right now what the leverage is to for like James Harden to Brooklyn. So I'm just wondering, and like I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that James Harden would be okay with going to like a place like Philadelphia, where Philadelphia could maybe make like a stronger trade package around Ben Simmons and have a chance to play with Joel Embiid and make things very interesting there. So yeah, I know James Harden seems very happy to just go to Brooklyn and let people deal with it, and that will be the end all. I think if that did happen, then like Brooklyn may just move to the top of my list of contending teams next year.
But well, that's a good endorsement of like first year coach Steve Nash too. Like
I don't know if it's as much about Steve Nash as it is. Obviously he'd be playing under Mike D'Antoni.
And Tony's an assistant. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's also looking and seeing. I used to play with Kevin Durant. We got along really well. I played with Kyrie Irving on Team USA. That worked out, albeit, obviously with a very different roster. And yeah, you don't know about, I don't know. I think for all the people that question how that would fit, I just think these guys could make it work. And they are just all three dangerous shooters, three dangerous scorers, excellent ball handlers. Like it would work. The defense individually isn't necessarily like out of this world, but Kevin Durant has been a really good defender. And I still think like Kyrie, as far as like playing passing lane, stuff like that. And then James Harden, when asked to guard like bigger players and post players, still pretty damn good. Like, and he has his moments. He has his moments where, he does these like off ball, kind of don't care type things.
But I think that's a regular season.
Look at the win column, and I think he's okay there.
No, and it's like, and the best part about this offseason that's cool is it's so condensed, versus like a storyline like this would play itself out over the course of like 4 or 5 months. Like we literally have 1 month from the draft to the season, so it's like these trades are going to happen. But yeah, I think Houston, it's going to be pretty interesting to see. Like they get rid of Harden and Westbrook. What are they getting back in return? Or are they just like play the line rebuilding?
The Brooklyn package like doesn't seem like amazing when you're thinking it's James Harden, but it would be a rebuild kind of deal too.
Yeah, like
it's not terrible. It's just it's very I guess you could say it's almost what like Oklahoma City got for James Harden, which isn't amazing. So
yeah,
but yeah, I think what Houston's getting is a lot of draft capital, and then they're unloading these 2 enormous contracts of guys who obviously weren't there for like the long haul. And yeah, it's just it obviously is a bit of a disappointing way to end a run of one of the best offensive performers and somebody who pushed Golden State to like the brink a couple times, and certainly we're in there as far as like possibly contending. Like you always kind of had to think about the Rockets these last few years. But yeah,
now we won't.
No, I think you will. Like I honestly think what they're doing in terms of getting draft capital and like and let's say they get a guy like Ben Simmons or somebody like that. Like I still feel like the Rockets could be in a position where they're not like a great team, and then they could be in a position to get like maybe a couple guys next couple years in the draft, and things could go pretty well. Like, if you're in the Cade Cunningham sweepstakes in 2021, like that.
Well, I think it seems to be the move. It's like that double of like draft capital plus clear cap room.
Yeah.
For maybe Giannis, but like obviously he's probably going to stay in Milwaukee at this point. But
I don't think Giannis would be going to Houston.
Not Houston, but I mean, teams are like every team believes they can get. Like they're not.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. Like they're thinking before December 21st. Like as Mark Stein announced, like there's a possibility that Giannis does resign with Milwaukee, and I don't know if he will, but even if there's that possibility floating out there, I'm guessing Milwaukee's doing what they can to make sure that happens. But yeah, let's get on. We promised you a final mock draft right before the draft. I was thinking that we would do it on our usual release date, but my brother and co-host Jason Weisberg had a really good idea. And Jason, announce your idea.
So my idea, we do typically release on Wednesdays. That is something that we've built and established here at Viseland. But what the time of the draft is, if we release our traditional episode Wednesday morning, you really don't have that much time to really listen to it and kind of absorb it before the draft. Because by the time you can, the draft is there. So we're going to release it on Tuesday, November 17th. So you have, a little bit of time before the draft to really listen over to the mock draft, compare it to your thoughts and everything like that. And then Wednesday night after the draft, so on the 18th following the draft, we're going to go live on YouTube and, just give some initial thoughts and, takes on how we thought the draft went and just some things along that matter. So really you get 2 episodes for the price of 1. For the price of 0, because
and that price is a bargain, basement of 0. But
it's free, but like you get 2.
The other thing we will definitely do is we will rip the draft broadcast as we always do. You just probably haven't seen it from us before. So we'll rip the draft broadcast. We'll rip the comparisons. We're going to have a good time, guys. So come and join us on Wednesday after the draft. I want to shout out my friends at Prep to Pro. They're doing a broadcast during the NBA draft. It will be on Twitch. Go and check out Ben Pfeiffer and Max A. Carlin on Twitter. They will have some fun guests, and I think it'll be a really fun show during the NBA draft. I'm probably going to tune in as well. Definitely will listen to the podcast afterwards. I'm assuming those guys are going to be exhausted after doing the Twitch for however many hours they do during the draft. So we're going to kind of wait for them to finish up, and then we'll take the scraps. So and just kind of go on about the fun things that we're
and given the rate of trades today, there's definitely gonna be a lot, on the 17th and the 18th after the draft. So we're gonna have a lot of situations that are fluid, that are changing, that we're gonna break down on Wednesday night. So stay tuned. But yeah, today is our final mock draft. Obviously, we are releasing this episode on Tuesday the 17th. So between then and the draft, again, fluid situations, things can change, but we're going based off what we're feeling, what the word on the street is right as of now. So just, something to take into consideration.
Not just the word on the street right as of now, but I'm looking towards the future too, Jace. And just trying to think that this won't exactly stay the way it is. A thing that I say is I've never seen a good mock draft. It just doesn't happen that way. There's always going to be something wrong with it. There's always going to be somebody that falls.
What year was it that NBA.com used to have the thing and you do the mock draft? It was like a lottery. And for every pick you got, correct, you got like X points. And then for every pick you got off by 1, you got, a little less, and by 2. And I remember it was like Curtis Borchardt. Everyone had him in the lottery. And then he went 80th.
Are you thinking draft.net or NBA.com?
No, it's NBA.com. It was an NBA.com official thing. And it was every point you were off, you got
winner of the NBA draft.net 2014 mock draft contest, by the way. And came in.
You can't see the trophy there because it doesn't exist. But
they used to give out awards, man, just not the year I won it. But what's up?
I said budget concerns, but
yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I do remember something along those lines. I don't know, that was I'm pretty sure that, dude, I think that was 100% an NBA draft.net contest, by the way. And you're just, yeah.
I will as an action item for you, I will take a further look and do that. But that just kind of came to my mind when we talk about mock drafts. But generally, the only mock draft that is right is when
draft.net thing.
Is when they call it. Is when they call it after the card has already been given to the commissioner. Those are the only people that can get 100% mock draft.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be off.
Woj and Chems, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
the guys who talk to the agents and get a little bit beforehand. But yeah, it's a cool little exercise, and we had our mock draft 2.0 a couple weeks ago. there will be a few changes here.
Yeah, no, definitely some
And,
different buzz
as we've gotten some new information. And we're just going to kind of go down, give some ranges on guys, and, give kind of what are the latest rumors and what some of these teams might do with their picks. And, of course, we have instituted these new trades into our mock draft as well. So the 28th pick now to Oklahoma City in the Lakers trade. And the 16th pick now going to the Houston Rockets, who I don't believe had a pick in this draft. So, yeah, they're now in this draft.
Definitely not in the first round.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, let's kick it off. Again, we're starting number one pick.
Did you confirm my Rockets not having a pick in the draft?
I was double checking that. Let me
yeah, they didn't. They do now.
No, well, good on them. No.
Blazers still do have their second round pick.
Yeah, the Blazers are, they're in a situation that's like, I don't know what you're gonna get at 16. That's gonna, like, I think Covington's gonna be a little bit more impactful than whoever you would have gotten.
Yeah, you kind of worry, like, because obviously the 16th pick is like a pretty good pick. So you have like a reason there. The other second round pick is where I really start to worry. And I think it is, like, right now it looks like a trade that benefits both sides. It just seems like a pretty steep price. Like, I know Ariza's value wasn't insane or anything like that, but yeah, he's 35 as well. Covington 30. I just I'm not exactly sure that I love it for the Blazers, but I respect it at this current moment and think it'll be good next year.
Bring back Melo.
We'll see what Melo wants to do. Yeah.
But speaking of Melo, so we're going to start number one pick, Minnesota Timberwolves. They won the lottery.
Yeah, they did do that.
That counts as a win.
The thing that it seems like the latest, right after they won the NBA draft lottery, the guy that my head said that they were going to choose was Anthony Edwards. I've switched back and forth on this a few times. Turns out I'm going with my head, and Anthony Edwards is the guy that I believe Minnesota is taking with the number one pick. I, for one, like LaMelo Ball with the number one pick and have let that be known.
Yeah, LaMelo, we had him on for 2.0.
We did. We had Anthony Edwards on our original.
On their 1.0. It's going back and forth, and it's like the kind of draft where, again, there's not like this definitive, like, one player is standing out above the rest, or even the like elite of this draft. It's all kind of bunched pretty close together.
The elite of this draft are like guys that you think are going to be like pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, they're not necessarily guys who you think are going to be like franchise changing players or anything like that. You're just hoping that maybe they become all-stars and they are like really solid, like number two or like complementary, like strong complementary pieces. And Anthony Edwards, I think, can be that. He would be like in at least a tier there. And I think he's become like a guy who most NBA teams likely have in their top three selections, and so at least somewhere around there. Probably wouldn't go too far out of that for many teams. And Anthony Edwards also is like, I think around like at least 6'4". He has long arms. I know his wingspan's kind of been all over the place, and he measured at 6'9" back in October 2017 at USA Basketball October minicamp. And he, I believe, is now like 6'10", 6'11" wingspan. He's also like just a really talented scorer and shows these tremendous flashes as a shot maker, as a slasher, as a cutter. He's just somebody that I think could be like, at least looks the part of someone who is in that almost like the comparison that gets brought up most often, Donovan Mitchell, at least somebody in that mold who could potentially, like, probably has the most potential of this draft class to be like that 20-point per game guy. And I'm guessing that's what Minnesota is seeing if they're taking him with the first pick. And you figure that he'll play with D'Angelo Russell. Defensively, he has potential there.
He's a big guy, and like,
he's good laterally as well, but he is also like, just kind of at times pretty apathetic on both ends of the floor. You're just kind of wondering what you're getting with him some of these times. Obviously, with Minnesota taking Jarrett Culver last year, they're really hoping. Like D'Angelo Russell is a pretty good shooter. You're hoping that Anthony Edwards shoots a little better, and I think he has the potential to be a pretty solid shooter as well. Just was pretty inconsistent during his time at Georgia. But yeah, he seems to be the guy that Minnesota is leaning towards, and it looks like he'll be the first pick of the draft. That is something, again, that could change, but yeah, it just seems like with what we know at this point, it looks like Minnesota leaning towards drafting Anthony Edwards.
Nice. And then moving on to the number 2 pick, obviously much talked about Golden State.
Yeah.
This position after, just having everyone basically out last year.
They have liked everyone from I just said this in a chat that I belong to. They've liked every prospect from Azubuike to Zeke Naji. So everyone from A to Z, it seems like Golden State is in on, except LaMelo Ball. I guess he's the one guy that they're a little not sure about. That maybe that's a smokescreen as well, and trying to get people to move up to draft Melo. I still think there's a good chance that they could trade back here, but I also think that there's a good chance that they keep this pick, and the guy that I think they'll take is James Wiseman. James Wiseman is humongous. He is very fast in a straight line. He, it just in terms of basketball instincts, feel, things like that, hasn't always been great. Had just numbers worries and also like just playing style kind of worries from EYBL. He looked pretty good in 3 games of college, but obviously very tiny sample size and one good team he played against. And that game was a bit of a mixed bag and showed some of, even being at that game, which I was, showed a few of the things that people kind of worry about with James Wiseman.
Luckily, his NCAA career was cut short due to NCAA ridiculousness versus injury. So at least coming in.
It seems like he's been training. I know a lot of people complain about the highlight videos of him training, but I just don't know how much you can really dig into that. But yes, there are concerns about his lateral quickness, if he's able to switch up with other players. He spends a lot of time on the perimeter for a guy who hasn't necessarily shown that he is a knockdown threat from the perimeter. And that's kind of seems to be something that he goes towards, even though he's 7'1" with a +5 wingspan.
Yeah, 7'6" wingspan. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He certainly looks the part. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to block shots. It's just about, are you able to have him on the court during crucial playoff moments, which Golden State is hoping to be back in. But yeah, he certainly will be a different player from any center that they've had in the last little while. You just kind of wonder from a playing style perspective if that's what you want. But yeah, it seems like the NBA as a whole is much higher on James Wiseman as opposed to what we have seen from James Wiseman thus far. So I guess in terms of projection, I've seen the guy in person, and it's hard. To me, I have concerns as well, but it's really hard for me to have James Wiseman too low. I don't know if there'll be 10 better players in this draft than James Wiseman, and I wouldn't bet on it. And so I may not have James Wiseman top 5, but I have him top 10. And I think Golden State, seeing what they do in James Wiseman, I wouldn't write it off. And I think they could still get some pretty good value out of that. Obviously, you need to hope that there are, some backups and things going there as well. I like LaMelo Ball more. I think if they were looking for a center, Onyeka Okongwu would fit really well. 2 seems a little high, but Golden State is still a team I could see trading down, but it just seems like they're liking James Wiseman at this point, and I would not be surprised if James Wiseman was the second pick in the NBA draft.
Yeah, I mean, we had that on our 2.0. I think, yeah, like filling out their, they're kind of their starting five. Like,
Yeah,
we had like a center for a very long, like almost, yeah, like.
Well, they had JaVale McGee and like they had like some guys, but yeah, like and if you want like a guy to maybe take those JaVale McGee minutes and do a little bit more, like that's Wiseman. That's probably not the guy you're hoping to get at the second pick.
Yeah.
You're hoping to at least play him like 25 or so minutes a game, at least in the beginning, and then probably build from there. But I think that James Wiseman could very well be the second pick. I've also tried to just say like they take LaMelo and trade him and like try and make that trade work in my head. I'm just not sure who Golden State would take, so I didn't make that trade. But I wouldn't be surprised if that happens as well. But yeah, I think if they stick with the second pick, like James Wiseman could very well be the pick. Let's move on to Charlotte.
Charlotte coming in number 3.
Charlotte coming in at number 3.
We had Anthony Edwards at 2.0, but obviously he's off the board.
Who?
I said we had Anthony Edwards in our 2.0 mock draft, obviously off the board now.
Is indeed. Yeah, I always thought that the top 3 picks were going to be Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, and LaMelo Ball in some order. The rumor was Charlotte, it seemed for the longest time that they were looking for a center, and word was that they wanted James Wiseman. Word was that they wanted Onyeka Okongwu, who's like the other guy that they've been talking about. I have them taking LaMelo Ball. I'm just kind of hedging on the fact that LaMelo is likely going to be a top 3 pick. I could see him maybe – I feel like the Bulls are probably his floor. There's a small possibility he goes a little bit lower. I can't see him getting past like the Pistons or Knicks, but yeah, I don't feel like LaMelo is going to slip that far.
Yeah, I feel like if he's sitting there, someone's going to want to come up and get him.
Yeah, exactly, and that could very well be as well. I did something a little bit different here also, and just kind of also like hedging my bet. The thing with mock drafts is you can either predict the team that a player is going to, or you could predict the pick. And the way that we did it when we did NBADraft.net, the mock draft contest, is we would predict the pick. So I kind of think by like just giving these pick ranges, like that's something that could very well happen, because you're likely not going to get like the entire lottery right or anything like that. And if you're really looking for like these team needs and like picks, it's going to be pretty tough. So yeah, like while you're doing like mental gymnastics, like saying like, oh, they'll never take a point guard. Like, what if they just trade the pick and somebody else takes a point guard? But yeah, so as far as doing the mental gymnastics to have LaMelo Ball fit with Charlotte, he's just an incredibly talented player. He's the best passer in the draft. He's the best ball handler in the draft. His shooting, a concern. His defense, a concern. But neither of them are things that you completely write off. I just think there's a lot of talent there. There's instincts that you just can't teach. There's basketball IQ. He is, and like the guy is going to be a giant ticket draw.
Yeah, he's
just looking for talent.
He's going to move some jerseys. He's going to do some stuff. Like,
yeah. So I have LaMelo going 3. I wouldn't be surprised if Charlotte does take LaMelo, that they might look to trade him. Like maybe he's not their cup of tea. I could see them taking Onyeka Okongwu here also. Not sure who else they would take, but yeah, I think it'll be between Wiseman, LaMelo Ball, and Onyeka Okongwu, and I have them taking LaMelo Ball in Viseland mock draft 3.0.
So moving on we got Chicago. We're out of this top 3.
So we have the Bulls, and last draft I had them taking Deni Avdija. I had them taking Deni in our first draft, I believe, as well. I switched it up, and this is just another like kind of instinct thing with me. I'm going with Onyeka here, and I know that there are lots of teams interested in Onyeka. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Charlotte does take him and just goes with need and maybe sees him like as a same level prospect as a LaMelo Ball. I probably wouldn't go there, but I could see Charlotte possibly doing that. But yeah, I just with the Bulls, it seems like I like the thing I'm hearing out of Chicago is that they're happier with Lauri Markkanen than they are with Wendell Carter Jr. And I'm not so sure that they don't maybe try and like trade Wendell Carter Jr. or do something like, or maybe even like I can't see them trading up for like a James Wiseman.
No, yeah, I don't think that's in the cards for them. But yeah, I think like getting Onyeka and Okongwu and then putting Wendell Carter on the block.
I could possibly see them trading up for a LaMelo Ball, like if Golden State took LaMelo. I don't know. I could see, and then maybe even seeing what they could get for Wendell Carter Jr. on the open market. The Bulls made some really interesting calls today. They picked up the option for Denzel Valentine, who has done very little for them during his time in the NBA. Declined the option for Chris Dunn, so he's an unrestricted free agent now, and then declined the option for Shaq Harrison, who was giving them like some pretty nice role minutes last year. You're not really sure what the new management's doing in Chicago. But yeah, I could see them taking Onyeka, and I have been pretty high on Onyeka. I think that he is kind of what you look for in a modern big. He does a lot of the things that Wendell Carter Jr. does. He's more
that's why it's like
explosive than Wendell. But Wendell's still really skilled and a great passer also. I wouldn't be sure about that. I also think that Chicago might trade this pick. Another team that I'm hearing is really – I've heard two teams quite high on Onyeka Okongwu. The Washington Wizards, who are hoping that he just slips a knife and they can take him. And then the Boston Celtics, who – I guess could maybe make some things interesting. And
that'd be good. Yeah,
they have 3 first-round picks. We'll see what happens there.
I mean, Gordon Hayward also on the block. They have some they could try to move as well, like for Boston. So it's a double.
Yeah, you have to make the salaries work, but yeah, like a Hayward for like Otto Porter. I don't know if that would work, and I'm not sure if the Celtics want to take that on, but it's. I just have a feeling that Onyeka is somebody who's thought of pretty highly, and I had him going to the Pistons in our last mock draft. I have him going 4 here, and to me, outside of those top 3 guys, I love Killian Hayes as well. I, for some reason, have heard that he seems to be a little lower on most teams' boards than on the board of myself and Draft Twitter. But yeah, we'll. It seems like Onyeka could indeed go 4th, and then Chicago can just kind of figure it out from there and have a few willing trade participants.
And then if he does get traded for LaMelo Ball, it's a Chino Hills versus Chino Hills swap.
Indeed, yeah. It will be interesting to see, because right now on a few mock drafts, it seems like they have Onyeka going to Charlotte and then LaMelo going to Chicago. So yeah, we'll see which Chino Hills guy goes first. And Onyeka obviously being at Chino Hills a little bit longer than LaMelo too.
Yeah, graduated from high school there.
They both were freshmen together, so that was really cool. Pretty amazing.
I was one of those what could have been if they got the chance run in high school, but hey, who knows? But yeah, moving on, number 5, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are in their back in their constant flux.
I have had Obi Toppin here the past 2 mock drafts. Jason Weisenberg.
That is correct.
And
I didn't know what you were looking for.
Yeah, and I'm talking with you, man.
You left that one super vague. No, you've had Obi Toppin. I mean, he's a local, Dayton, older,
but he's also the NCAA Player of the Year.
Was super proven scorer.
Could shoot, could pass, scorer in many different ways, as we mentioned before. Might be favorite for Rookie of the Year. He's a guy that you expect some immediate impact from. You just kind of wonder about his defense, and then the contract moving forward, like his second contract, especially when you have to worry about how you build a team with an Obi Toppin. But I think Cleveland is just looking for talent, and I think Obi is probably their guy. So that's who I have going fifth once again. I'm sticking with Obi Toppin going to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and them getting an athletic power forward who you just hope is a really high-level offensive player.
Or Cleveland's again.
If you any defense whatsoever, then that's a win.
Yeah, Cleveland again in that situation, they're probably going to make a lot of turnover on their roster, and I think Obi Toppin is at least like a good rookie contributor that can keep some fans interested in the in the team, and again, probably ready to score in the NBA quickly.
Yeah,
not like leading scorer in the league, but like score consistently.
Maybe leading scorer on the Cavs though.
Yeah.
Obviously Colin Sexton with a big second year scoring wise, but I think there definitely are things that they can do to make some moves with their roster. The Sexton Garland backcourt isn't something you figure is there for the long haul, but it was certainly provided some excitement. Kevin Porter Jr. obviously very exciting. He just got into some legal trouble, and just hoping that all works out. And he's just such a talented player. Hoping the best for his mental health in that situation. And at least nobody got hurt. That's what I am most happy about. And then 6th pick, we're at the Atlanta Hawks. And the guy that I have the Hawks taking, I just feel like Deni Avdija is not going to fall too far. And
again, it's one of those things where it's like interest from other teams that want to move. Seeing them at that position, making them want to, it's hard to see them continue to free fall because I know he's someone that's had a lot of intrigue.
Definitely. And he's just, I think Atlanta is obviously accumulated like this great set of wings and kind of like combo forwards, and adding a guy like Deni who can at least, you're not expecting him to be like a primary initiator, but he could be like, he's a great passer. He's great without the ball, and just a really smart player. Somebody that you could see doing some good things with Trae Young.
Yeah, that's why I like. Trae Young's your guy, but that's why good players move without the ball and be available for him.
Yeah. And then if they go small and play like John Collins at the 5, have Deni at the 4, there could be some interesting lineups there.
Because again, bulk is a concern for Avdija, but coming into the NBA, obviously things can change pretty quickly with some of those strength and training programs. So hopefully, by year 2, because obviously the thing for this year that's tough is again you don't have summer league, you don't have those periods to really get acquainted, but maybe year 2, year 3.
Yeah.
Those things.
I also have heard that Atlanta is very interested in moving this pick, either trade back or trade up. We'll see what happens there, but I just have Deni going 6th, kind of hedging my bet on that as well. And then 7 is a rumored promise or a rumored infatuation by the Detroit Pistons with Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams is somebody who seems to be moving up draft boards and rumored to go possibly as high as number 4. I thought about him to Atlanta as well.
Well, we had, just for comparison, we had him at 11 on our last mock.
Yeah.
So that's definitely some good movement.
Yeah. So word is that the highest he can go is 4, and the lowest he's going is 9. So my friend Evan Samir, who I want to wish a happy birthday to as well, just a great draft and stats guy, and just really fun to talk about basketball with. Definitely follow him at the City too. But he brought up a really good point, and this was early on in showing how Marcus Morris was kind of getting things done with the Clippers as this kind of combo forward. And I think teams are kind of seeing that. And he posted today an article saying teams are seeing Pat Williams in that mold. And yeah, like there aren't a ton of guys in that mold. He's a bigger player than some of the other, like, kind of like combo forward type guys, or like, I guess if you're calling them like straight threes. I still kind of see him more as a 4. But yeah, the Pistons just kind of in need of an influx of talent. And Pat Will showed some great flashes. Really good vertical athlete. He has a solid frame, and it showed at least some shooting potential. Didn't shoot like exceptionally well from 3-point range, but shot well from the free throw line. Did a few things even in the pick and roll that made you see some upside there. So yeah, he's a guy that I think seem to fit in the Pistons mold as like, this strong forward, and possibly a guy that you could play as a combo forward. So yeah, it seems like there's a lot of credence behind the Pistons taking him at number 7.
Nice. And then moving on to the Knicks, number 8. Obviously looking over the other part of the city here, you got Brooklyn, who's, got everything. Might be getting James Harden. Well, what are the Knicks doing?
I'm sticking with Tyrese Haliburton, and I've kind of like waned on where I see him going. It almost seems like 8 might be like his floor, surprisingly enough. I'm not as high on him as some other people are. He's like this analytics darling because he's kind of like low usage, but he's a great passer. He shot really well as a spot up shooter. He he's really good in his role as kind of like a linking player, but he like never gets to the basket, never gets to the free throw line. You're not really expecting him to be your point guard. Like, he's not necessarily creating advantages off of the dribble. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, then yes, I think he does spread the floor for the Knicks, but you're just not really, he's not exactly what the Knicks need. So yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, and maybe feeling that the NBA is higher on Tyrese Haliburton than many of us are who have those concerns about him, just in terms of strength as well. But yeah, I feel like the Knicks might just like the idea of having somebody who you kind of trust as a shooter, going to be a good passer, just kind of spreads the floor, and it is kind of like the safe pick, I guess, at number 8. Though it leaves a couple of really nice wings on the board, and maybe some potential higher upside guys as well.
But you also have, another point guard still floating, is Killian Hayes that's, been
for sure.
So
it seems like the NBA, for whatever reason, and this could be wrong on draft night, we'll find out, but it seems like the NBA is lower on Killian Hayes than they are on Tyrese Haliburton. Surprising to me. But it just that seems to be, when we're talking about like intel and rumors and stuff going around, that seems to be the case, man.
Yeah, it's you never know. They obviously get a lot of intel, do a lot of things. So maybe they just, there's a general feeling going on, but
or maybe they're wrong.
Yeah, of course.
That happens too.
And the Knicks are a team that's always tends to be on the wrong side of the coin sometimes when it comes to some selections.
It happens for everyone.
And then so next we got the Washington Wizards coming in at number 9.
Stuck with my pick there. I went with Isaac Okoro, and the same reasons I gave last time. Just having that solid defensive player on the wing, really good slasher, has some ability to play on the ball a little bit, and as much as it would be nice to have I think a lot of people are pretty close on Devin Vassell and Isaac Okoro, and I'm just going with like the higher defensive upside, and I'm just feeling like Okoro's strength and slashing ability, I really like that, and also his ability to play on the ball a little bit more than Vassell. Those are things that I buy, where I'm a little bit higher on Isaac Okoro than I am Devin Vassell. And I wonder if Washington might feel the same way.
Yeah, no, I think again, I still think that could be a fit. But coming on to number 10, We got the Phoenix Suns. Last time we had them going with a point guard. Obviously, that has changed pretty quickly over the last few days. Where that is not
The fact their point guard situation changed, but I'm keeping the pick.
I still think they're gonna go like someone like for Chris, to kind of like Chris Paul backup, and then in a couple years.
How many minutes per game did Chris Paul play last year? That's a good question.
But again, they have like
he played 32 minutes per game last year.
Yeah, and Oklahoma City had the benefit of having other point guards as well. Like you can leave Schroeder.
So what? I think Phoenix might think the same thing. Like obviously you'll have a lot of Booker on the ball, but it seems like with this trade, like Phoenix is in need of depth, like almost everywhere. Like, and they may indeed have a little bit more assurance of their wing players than they do of their point guard situation. So I just feel like it's nice to have an insurance policy, one. And then also, like, Kyra Lewis is a guy that can play next to Devin Booker and play off the ball, play next to Chris Paul even. Like, I feel like they could kind of think along the same lines of having that 3-point guard lineup and or, like, having those 3 guys that can handle the ball.
Also, get like speed. I guess like speed spark off the bench as well. Give some energy to
Chris
this.
Paul's only going to be there for so long.
No, totally. I mean, definitely, I wouldn't have like a 5-year plan, but like, over the next,
I thought about going wing here. I thought about going Vassell, but I'm sticking with Kyra Lewis Jr. And I think that he is somebody that teams have also gotten pretty high on, and I've heard some possible Phoenix interest there.
When he's one of those guys too that like when he first came to college wasn't even eligible for the draft because he was a little young, so he had he got to get those 2 years experience before he was actually met the criteria. So it's kind of an interesting little thing on him. But yeah, no, I think definitely Phoenix is in a very whatever they do, I think they're feeling very good about where they stand right now. Like how they ended in Orlando plus what they're doing, to push forward is going to be pretty interesting to see if they take that leap this year. Coming in at number 11, we have a team that has traditionally not been in the lottery too often. That's the San Antonio Spurs, but obviously they always, seem to find some talent. But they're obviously in this transition phase of, LaMarcus Aldridge isn't getting younger. DeMar DeRozan also, what's his long-term future with the team?
You heard the DeMar DeRozan to the Lakers rumors. You wonder how that's going to work now that they just traded Danny Green, unless it's like a long-term, like, they'll wait for when Schroeder is eligible to be traded. I don't know. But yeah, DeMar just opted in, the right move. Like I don't think he was going to get that much money playing somewhere else. $27.7 million. But yeah, so I think he's there for his immediate future, at least for a while. We'll see what happens. I was thinking that maybe like San Antonio is like sneaky, like saying like, oh yeah, Killian Hayes might be like one of like the top like 3 to 5 players in the draft. Let's like just say that we're low on him and take him at 11.
Yeah,
I was really thinking that, but I went with Devin Vassell. And Devin Vassell was a guy who for a while kind of seemed like his stock was where like Patrick Williams was. And he's a guy that I would like for the Knicks at 8 or, somewhere a little bit higher. But he is an amazing team defender, has been a consistent 3-point shooter. You pointed out on a small sample size, but still, when you have both your freshman and sophomore season shooting the relative same percentages, it's a good sign.
Yeah, at least it's really,
especially when it's 42 or 41 or 42%. So yeah, a lot of shooting potential there. You're hoping there's a bit more ball handling potential. Right now, not a guy who takes tons of dribbles or, is like the best passer, but certainly not bad. And then at least improved like a great deal from his freshman year when he was pretty much just catch and shoot to making a few pull-ups every now and then and making some difficult shots. But yeah, his real upside is as a defender, he's great off the ball and shows some promise on ball. You just would like him to get to the free throw line more. You'd like him to gain that strength. Whereas, people are kind of comparing him to these like all-star or fringe all-star wings. You just kind of wonder what it will be, and that will kind of, I think, in a large part be up to how much he gains strength and how much he becomes a competent ball handler. But San Antonio seems like a really good spot for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he went a little higher. I think I'm guessing 12 is his floor.
We had him at 12 in our 2.0.
You did.
So he's
right after Patrick Williams, his team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're both kind of in that range. But so where we had him last in our 2.0 is number 12. We got Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
Obviously a team with plenty of some pretty decent needs, but they have De'Aaron Fox. They have their point guard, but still
They do. I have them taking another guy who I think you would classify as a point guard, and just kind of maybe seeing like what it would be like to have these two guys that can handle duties as primary ball handlers. They're also both left-handed. So yeah, I just have Sacramento saying Killian Hayes is here. We like his attitude. We like that he's a professional. We like that he can dribble, pass, and has shooting potential. So yeah, I just think that Sacramento could really just say, while we do have De'Aaron Fox,
but Killian Hayes is a tall.
Let's play this bigger guard next to him. I even heard rumors of Sacramento liking Kyra Lewis Jr. So yeah, I could see them doing that kind of like two guard thing. You're wondering what Buddy Hield's future is going to be. You've got re-signed Bogdan Bogdanovic is somebody that they're likely going to re-sign or try to re-sign, and he's a free agent. But yeah, I just think you put in Killian Hayes, a guy who I think could play right away, gives him a little depth at guard, and could maybe even potentially like be a nice fit next to De'Aaron Fox. Not to mention like also a pretty big guard. So he's
that's why like it doesn't
has like a 6'9" or so wingspan. Like he's a pretty big guy. Just showed a great deal of improvement as his time in as compared to the year before in Cholet. And he he can create his own shot. He's a great passer and playmaker, and he's kind of like that crafty finisher also. So he and then improved a great deal defensively. So I've heard about him possibly slipping out of the lottery. I don't know how much I believe it. I just think there's too much talent there.
Yeah, I think it's a combo of that, and yeah, it's like people have been high. He's been up so high on boards for a very, very long time. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see like, and what's the reason that he does slip out?
Yeah, I guess just other people not being quite as high on
him. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
But I think yeah, like for your value,
and, questioning the shooting. He's always kind of been like his shooting off of the catch has never been amazing, and it's kind of surprising because he's always been like kind of like a mid-80s free throw shooter. So you just feel like that's something that could really improve with time.
Cool. And then moving on, we got the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah.
So close to that playoff runs, they make this trade. They got Drew Holiday no longer on the team.
The deal maker, and I don't have them taking the most exciting player, but this seems to be a guy who there's like some kind of lottery consensus on, or at least around that range, and that's Saddiq Bey out of Villanova. He shot really well this past year, showed some defensive flashes, albeit like, kind of likes to jump and doesn't always make necessarily the smartest plays there. Isn't the fastest player, but, showed even some passing ability. He's a guy who's just kind of like a combo forward and somebody that you're really hoping can shoot the ball. And when you're playing with Zion Williamson, that's really what you hope for. Yeah. Maybe even a guy that could play the 4 next to Zion playing the 5 at times. So yeah, he's a guy that I think New Orleans could be interested in. So that's why I moved him up a few picks in Viseland mock draft 3.0.
Yeah, because last time he was checking in at number 16.
Checking in at the time Blazers pick.
At the Blazers pick. So no more. He's going to be 13. Coming in at 14, we have the Boston Celtics. First of their 3 picks. But again, of course, Danny Ainge, a constant wheeler and dealer. So, of course, they are still in the lottery.
Yeah. And a guy that I have heard they are intrigued by is Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith has kind of been he's all over the place. He has a pretty wide range on mock drafts, I think from like 14 to probably like 25.
Yeah, we had him 22. We had him 22 in the 2.0. So
yeah,
definitely some volatility there.
Yeah, he's a guy that I think teams are a little higher on than I am. Has at least like some center size ish. Like, you know, it got a little stronger. He was known as Sticks because he was always really skinny. But you know, showed some nice like I would say he's not like the best. He's a decent vertical athlete. Like has a little pop to him. Can run in a straight line pretty well. Lateral quickness is where he struggles a tad. But showed some shooting potential. And then yeah, maybe a guy that you're ultimately hoping could play either big spot. You're just wondering maybe like who he'll defend because his lack of strength to defend 5s maybe, and then lack of lateral quickness to defend 4s. But certainly a guy who's pretty toolsy. And I just think Boston or maybe some other team, if Boston trades a pick, might have some interest at this point of the draft.
No, totally. Boston, you know, it's going to be intriguing to see what they do with the 3 picks. If Danny Ainge holds on all 3 of them. Coming out at number 15, we have a team that just changed its name slightly. They were Orlando Magic. Now they are the Orlando Magic. They like made a point of pointing that out on Twitter. I think they even had Shams make it even more official. So now you have to add the.
Interesting.
Or maybe I don't know. Yeah, like they made some stupid thing on Twitter, and
then Ohio State. Like what the hell?
Yeah, well, they also have these new like orange uniforms that are going to be kind of an atrocity. But you know that's another problem for another day with Nike. But
that is a cross.
Coming in number 15.
Number 15. I have Orlando just taking a solid guard here. I know people have talked about like taking, you know, the point guard of the future. But yeah, I have Orlando taking Tyrese Maxey, a guy that I've always been pretty high on relative to others in this draft. Just has always been a really solid scorer at every level where he's played. Shows at least like some tenacity as a defender as well. He's not necessarily the guy you want like running the show, but he's really good next to somebody, and it can do some secondary playmaking as well. Also like a really creative finisher and shows great touch there. Didn't shoot exceptionally from long range during his time in Kentucky, but shot well from the free throw line and on floaters. And you're just thinking that there's a chance that he could really extend that range. And then you're also kind of wondering if Calipari held him back. I think he was by far the most talented prospect on that Kentucky team this past year. So yeah, he's a guy that I just feel like Orlando might like, or, you know, let's say somebody else trades back, and I could see them liking Tyrese Maxey here.
Cool. And then moving on, we got formerly Portland Trail Blazers at 16, but obviously making this move right now is going to the Houston Rockets, a team that is in, you know, definitely going to be in a very different look from, you know, last year to this year. So
exactly. Adding on to that point, the guy, as soon as I saw the trade go down, the guy that I thought of them taking was somebody who is maybe that long-term upside play, and that's Alexei Pokazewski. And Alexei Pokazewski is 7 feet tall, 7'3" wingspan. He runs and moves like a guard, has like this lateral quickness, gets steals, gets blocks from the weak side, like at the rim, is a good transition passer, potentially a good passer off the short roll. He can do all of these things on the basketball court, movement shooting, a lot of talent there. Has played in Olympiakos' B team, originally from Serbia, but yeah, played with Olympiakos' B team. The guy that obviously his stats get compared to there are Giannis Antetokounmpo, but I think very different in terms of frame.
It's hard to know in some of those
physical tools. Yeah,
because they do have like domestic rules of play and like there's a lot of different things. So it's like it's hard to take some of those stats super seriously because it all comes down to minutes per game, and obviously if he's being talked about like this, there's that potential there. Are there any concerns with him weighing like 150 pounds or?
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like,
he's 17.
Wonder if he's going to physically develop, and I think people kind of view him as a big, and then you're wondering if he can potentially like play on the perimeter, and
because like
maybe more suited to his skill set. But I just think there's so much talent there, and to me, he's one of the more intriguing upside plays in the draft. And that's just why as soon as I saw Houston make this trade, I was thinking that they might be looking at Alexei as just.
And is he ready to come over this year, or is he someone that's gonna?
I think he's coming over.
Okay.
I think that at least was the plan. But yeah, and probably there's a possibility he uses some time in the G League. But I just think there's a lot of talent there, and then. He's been so good at game like steals and blocks at every level too that you're just kind of like the fact that even though he like weighs like nothing, that he's willing to mix it up. So yeah, he's a guy that maybe you can expect a little more from off the bat than what people are kind of giving him credit for.
No, totally. Okay. Hopefully he comes out with that skill. But yeah, it's just always that like that ultimate risk reward of like the 7-footer that plays like a guard. It's like, well, that's great, but you're the tallest player on my team. Like, get inside, and if you're not physically there to defend or lateral quickness, especially, so for every Kristaps Porzingis, there's kind of a lot of,
But on a team that's rebuilding, like I think that's a good setting for him, and I just think it's a good upside play. People say it's like a boom or bust pick. I think there could be a middle there that might be pretty good too. So yeah.
At 16, like in that range, there's not a huge bust factor.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I don't know. I think there absolutely is, Jason. Like,
there's it's not like you put your franchise hope behind it.
No, but I think the Rockets are banking on these picks to kind of be at least pieces that start the rebuild. So yeah, you could certainly miss on it, and it could set things back a bit, but yeah, I think this is certainly worth the risk.
And we had him one spot behind on our 2.0. So coming back into the draft, we have Minnesota again. They have a mid-first round pick here at 17.
Yeah, and I'm moving this guy up a little bit too. Precious Achiuwa, I have going 17 to Minnesota. Been working out with Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. And I guess maybe I just saw those tapes today, and I'm thinking to myself, like it's so hard to believe that Precious can shoot. Like, I just can't really – you want to see that kind of in-game form and everything like that.
That's why, highlights are so difficult, these workout sessions. To take
yeah, for sure. And I haven't moved him up a ton, but I feel like that teams are probably a little bit higher on him than maybe I am or we are in general. But he I think he could be a guy that I see him as more of like a 4-5 than like he was nominated for the Julius Erving Award, which I didn't feel went along with the position that he played.
I don't think that's his wheelhouse.
Yeah. But yeah, if he's a guy that I think is athletic. He plays really hard. He has a chance to be at least, decent around the basket. He's strong. He has physical tools also. it's just you kind of wonder about, like the passing, the shot selection, things along those lines. But yeah, certainly a really good athlete and somebody that I guess you hope you can mold. And certainly looks like he's been working out with like a really good trainer also, and just getting ready for the next level. So yeah, I feel like this is around Precious's range, and that he could be like a top 20 pick at this point. So yeah, I have him going to Minnesota at 17. Also think like, Minnesota, if they're looking for like, somebody to play with Karl Anthony Towns, it's certainly a possibility.
Oh, definitely. And he's had some volatility. He's been up higher in the past. He's been lower. So, it'll be interesting to see what do the teams actually value him at. Coming in at number 18, we have the Dallas Mavericks. They got Luka. They got Kristaps. What kind of other players are they looking to fill out this young, a team on the rise? I think Luka, proved that he can definitely be the guy.
Yeah, I think he's the odds-on favorite for MVP in Vegas right now, and made the All-NBA first team. So yeah, you have your franchise cornerstone. Kristaps Porzingis in the bubble looked fantastic. Of course, got hurt in the playoffs. Lucas pulled some Luka magic there, and they still ended up taking the Clippers to 6 games, which was incredibly impressive. And then also the other thing with them is the highest offensive rating in NBA history. But, we're looking for some defense in this joint also. So I have them taking Josh Green. I just think it's a good fit. Josh Green is one of the, I think, better on-ball defenders in this class. Just has this fantastic lateral quickness and intensity on that end of the floor, and is great in a straight line, a really good athlete. Just it seems to be like a really nice complementary piece. And if he can shoot at all and is a little above average as a shooter, I think that's some really good things. But yeah, Dallas is looking for defense. Of course, with their European ties, Alexei Pokazewski has been a guy floated around there as well. But yeah, I'm liking more and more Josh Green here, and I just think that it's a good fit. And I think Josh, just because when you're looking for 3-and-D wings around this area, he's one of the better bets.
He's definitely there, and he has that potential.
Yeah. So yeah, I moved Josh up a tad here, and had him going 18. And the next pick is a guy that I could possibly see going to Dallas as well, and is from that area. But the guy I have going 19 to the Nets is RJ Hampton. And I moved him down a tad. I believe in the last mock we had him going to.
We had him at 15. So
we had him Orlando. Okay.
So
I thought I had bought Orlando. Yeah.
But yeah, he's one of those guys. He took the NBL offer to go play.
Played next Stars.
Yeah. So he played there and
played New Zealand. Really a quick guy. He was one of the top-rated high school players in his class. He has some vertical athleticism too. So just a good athlete in both vertically, laterally, and just in terms of speed straight ahead. And he is somebody who you also kind of wonder about as a decision maker and as a shooter. But there's just a lot to like as far as those athletic tools and work ethic and just off the court. And it seems like he's been really working on some of the aspects of his game during this draft process. And he seems like a good bet to be like a nice rotation guard.
When you look at Brooklyn, it's they're possibly putting this team together, but then it's Kyrie, is fairly often injured. So, there are definitely good chances to, hopefully come in and play. If not, just again, some second unit.
And they traded for Bruce Brown today, so, they got a little bit of guard depth there. They traded Zana Musa for Bruce Brown. So yeah, it's I think RJ can kind of be brought along at his pace, I guess, if they do make like a James Harden trade, or even if he's maybe behind some of the players that they keep around there. But yeah, just seems like a good bet to be a rotation guard down the line.
Well, this could also, this pick could also be something that is going to, Houston's direction as well.
Could be. Yeah. Could be.
Like, given how they're going to work the parameters of such a trade. So
yeah,
definitely some intrigue on that pick, because anything with Brooklyn right now, just like it has that like very interesting factor of like what it could be, if they are able to pull these things off. Coming in at 20, it is the Miami Heat team that definitely exceeded expectation last year, getting to the finals.
And I have them drafting Theo Maledon. He is out of Asvel in France. That was Tony Parker's club. Played good minutes for them. Showed flashes as a shooter, flashes as a finisher, and he's just he's one of those guys who's not necessarily your distributor, but you're just kind of hoping that there's enough there in terms of his shooting and to possibly build on. Has some good physical tools also for a guard. So yeah, he's just somebody that I believe that maybe I had a bit too low last time. Moved him up and think that he's right around this range. He was higher like early on in the draft process, and I think there has been a little bit of cooling down with Theo Maledon, but still a prospect that I see being like probably in the mid to late first round range.
Yeah, no, definitely some intrigue there again, because we had him 27 in our last mock. So it's interesting to see what that range is like. And again, like I think at this part of the draft, like there are some pretty decent point guards on the board still available. So it's just interesting to see like what that ordering would be.
Yeah, you're just kind of wondering, like, thinking maybe Miami like looks for this guy with size who they just feel like they can teach to be like this really solid shooter, and maybe like him a little bit more than some of the other point guards available. But yeah, just at this point, a guess for me.
21, we got the 76ers, a new front office going on, and obviously a team that is also on the brink of flux. They're very tight in. They put a lot of money into Al Horford. You have this kind of Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons dynamic of like, can this work, or is one of them going to have to or want to go out of town, let alone just, be traded on their own. So it's like, yeah, it's interesting to see like what situation, holds for the Sixers next year. What direction do you think they are going to go at 21?
I think they're looking for shooting. And as much as I would love Cole Anthony to go here and think that would be a great look, I went with Aaron Nesmith, who I dropped down a tad. I just think there's kind of he's very one-dimensional. That one dimension was fantastic in the 2 games that he played for Vanderbilt last year. But we're looking at his whole body of work, and I think there's room for a few concerns. So I think there's a chance that he does indeed fall a bit down the draft board. So yeah, I have him going to Philadelphia, and them just kind of banking on him being at least decent on the defensive end, and hoping that he's this great spot-up shooter that they could have with either a Ben Simmons there or possibly a James Harden. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
The thing about the Sixers right now too is like, like Simmons and Embiid, they're gonna they demand the ball, and so like you need those kind of guys that can just know their role, come out and shoot. I like Cole Anthony because I think he would give them a good dynamic there, just as a point guard. Like I think he does have some starting NBA level potential, but that's Philadelphia's decision, not mine. Coming in number 22, we have the Denver Nuggets. Super, talented young team. Obviously, Jeremy Grant opting out, but I mean that was not a surprise.
Yeah.
Like what kind of direction do we feel like Denver? Because again, like they've had these playoff runs, like they are close and they have some bones to their to their team, with Jamal and Jokic, and of course Bol off the bench, just being the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, that. I think if Cole Anthony is available here, I think he's kind of an intriguing play. And it seems like they've gotten these guys who were considered to be much higher on most people's draft boards at the beginning of the year, maybe fell down a bit. And that's kind of where I'm going along with this Cole Anthony play. I can't see Cole Anthony dropping that too low. So I think if Cole Anthony is available around here, I just think somebody's just going to just stop the drop. And he has some score. He has definite scoring chops. Good ball handler, really good pull-up shooter, can shoot off of the catch as well, has some ability to create his own shot. You can't say that he's Jamal Murray because obviously that curve is unreal, and the way that Jamal Murray was playing, you can only hope that he maintains that level.
Oh, no, yeah, we're hoping for an all-star caliber season, that's
where he was headed.
Bare minimum.
For sure.
Yeah.
And yes, they still do have Monte Morris, but yeah, he's even a guy I think you could play Cole Anthony with Jamal Murray, especially having a guy like Nikola Jokic there, having Michael Porter. That is a ridiculous shooting lineup.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have Jokic, you have Porter, and then you maybe even play Murray, Gary Harris, and Cole Anthony. That's pretty interesting.
There's some good potential moves that they can make, and then again you have someone that does have that scoring potential, and hopefully Denver presents in that situation, especially there's gonna be obviously the defensive dynamic is gonna a lot of teams are gonna be keen in on Jamal Murray. Jokic is obviously insanely hard to stop anywhere on the court. He's just anytime he has the ball, big problems for the other team. So yeah, I think that to me, I think that would be a really good value pick, and I think fit seems to work. So always kind of had that.
Yeah. So moving on to Utah, I got yelled at by the Utah Jazz fans, as I told you last time during the first mock draft that we did, which was just our opinion mock.
They're just they're very friendly about it, though. They're Utah. It's Utah. They're
yeah, not so friendly. They were
get a smile on their face.
But yeah, I'm not so sure about this one, but I've heard rumors that he might be going in this range, and I have Vernon Carey Jr. to Utah. I'm not sure if they trade the pick or maybe somebody else is interested. I've heard possibly Miami. That was a rumor going around. Vernon Carey, I don't know. Have you seen pictures of Vernon Carey Jr.?
Not recently.
As of recently?
No.
Lost 30 pounds.
Wow.
Looks intensely different. He looks so different now. And you almost wonder if it's a good thing because so much of his game is just, him being that kind of big son of a
center. Yeah, he's the big.
With good feet, and
his dad was a former NFL offensive lineman, so obviously he's going to be a big dude.
For sure, but he's always had good feet on offense. On defense is where the struggle really lies. He's not necessarily super long. He did have a decent block percentage at Duke, but you wonder if that was a lot of their scheme and everything there. He was one of the most efficient and just analytically decent freshmen this past year at Duke also. So I just I don't know about him falling too low. This may be a bit too high for him, but if his losing weight has anything to do with him possibly becoming better laterally as a defender, and if he's focused on just also defensive instinct and not jumping at everything, then this could be a really good thing. So I'm still not completely out on Vernon Carey. I know a lot of people are. I know a lot of people
he's run the gamut. I mean, he's on him. He's really 2 years ago, maybe, when that class, first.
Yeah.
He was a top 5 protection at that moment.
Yeah, because he was putting up numbers in EYBL, and there are things that he could do offensively, like he soft shooting touch. He didn't shoot a lot at Duke, but just he was scoring. Like if you look at his like per 40 numbers, like they're really good. And he is just super offensive talented. You just wonder if he's not necessarily more of a liability on defense. But yeah, with this weight loss, I think teams might be kind of in on giving that a chance. So
well, he's someone that wasn't in the first round in our 2.0 because he's kind of again he's run that gamut of like top.
Yeah. Just if you guys have a chance to see a picture of recent running Terry, like it's a world of difference. Still not sure if that's a good thing or not, but it seems like he at least he's happier, and if that does help his game, then that is fantastic. So I have Vernon in the first round now, and I moved this guy down a little bit, and just kind of with a sort of what I'm hearing, I had been kind of hearing that he was rising up, and then I hear that he's just kind of like considered maybe a lower first round pick. But I have Desmond Bane to Milwaukee. I'm not sure if Milwaukee traded this first round pick. That's still yet to be determined to New Orleans. But I think even if New Orleans does get the pick, like Desmond Bane is that good kind of he's maybe like a 3-and-D like plus a little like bit of passing acumen, and one of the best shooters in the draft. Like just can shoot in a variety of different ways. Has that strong frame. Has the negative wingspan. But he is just he was a really solid player his last few years at TCU, and like the shooting resume speaks for itself. So yeah, he's somebody that you could possibly see stepping in and making an immediate rotation contribution.
And yeah, we'll see if it's Milwaukee's pick or if that's something that they gave up. But again, 3-point shooting, Milwaukee can also use that. Like that was
anything can use that. Milwaukee can use that. New Orleans can use that.
Yeah.
I still feel like Desmond Bane is a solid bet to be a first round pick, and I wouldn't be surprised if he went a little bit higher. But just have him at 24 in our final Viseland mock draft before the Wednesday draft. Tyrell Terry is who I have on
Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, so moved him down a little bit. The rumors for a long time were he was going up. I'm still kind of not sure. You're not really sure about him as a ball handler. You're not really sure about his frame. But the one thing you are sure about is the guy can shoot the hell out of the basketball. Showed some craft as a finisher, but you're just wondering how often he gets the lane. But still, like, had I think a pretty good free throw rate. Just a really high-level shooter, and you're just kind of hoping he can work on a few aspects of his game to be kind of more potent as, like, a lead guard or even, like, off the ball. But, yeah, he's a guy that I think is a solid bet that he had a promise by entering the draft. And I've kind of just heard some rumblings that it might be from Oklahoma City.
Awesome. Well, moving on, we got Boston Celtics coming their second pick, coming in here at 26.
Yeah. And I think if they do keep these picks, at least one of them will be kind of a draft and stash guy. I just don't think they have the roster space to.
Because they had three first round picks last year that are all.
They had two.
Oh yeah, but like they've had a lot.
They had a couple second round picks in Taco, so they are. I have them taking Leandro Belmoro, who is somebody that is going to be a draft and stash player, and it seems like is going to play at least the next year or two for FC Barcelona. Belmoro is from Argentina, was in the Hoop Summit a couple years ago, and talented ball handler, talented passer, mixed bag as a shooter, and offensively in the half court, you're just not exactly sure what you're getting with him. But it has at least shown these flashes where he could be a really interesting guard play, and certainly has some size. Is about like 6'6" or so with a 6'8" wingspan. Just is somebody that you're willing to kind of bet on here as development play, and somebody that when he comes over might be ready to contribute as a rotation guy.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great situation too, because again, like hopefully he does add some of these elements to his game in Spain, and then comes to Boston. Jason Tatum still going to be the guy, and it's going to be interesting to see like how they build that team, because eventually they're going to have to transition like Kemba, and, like wheels are going to move, but Tatum's going to be that constant. I think he's really going to be a top, still be a top player in the league for a while. Super young.
Yeah, certainly looking like it.
Loving what he's bringing. So it's like
if year 3 was any indication, he's a stud.
Yeah, and then you bring just a good energy, because again, like Jalen Brown, is he gonna? There's a couple moving pieces on Boston, so it's definitely good to have someone like come in a couple years fresh, ready to go. Coming in at number 27, we have the Knicks again.
Yeah, and so the first pick, I was like, they kind of took a guy they think is going to be a point guard, but not completely sure. I'm not sure what the Knicks point guard situation is going to be like with anybody currently on their roster. So I took another point guard here, and I took Malachi Flynn, who I just think is right in the first round range. And it could be a guy that maybe if the pick gets traded, somebody would be interested in as well. He is an excellent pick and roll player, was one of the best players in college basketball with San Diego State this past year, was really good with Washington State as well. Good pull-up shooter. He is just tough as nails, not necessarily the best size, but just does so many good things for your basketball team. And, is that guy who can play on ball defense. He's somebody who you're kind of in the modern day heavy pick and roll game, somebody that you're very confident with the ball in his hands. So he could be somebody who goes in like the 20s here and still gets like a good minutes as your backup or spot starter. So yeah, I have Malachi Flynn still remaining in the first round. I had him a little bit higher last time, but yeah, I had him 27 to the Knicks now.
Cool. And then we move. Well, it's 27 to the Knicks, and then 28, we have the Lakers, now Oklahoma City Thunder. So Lakers totally out of the first round. Not that they need to be, given their current situation. But
yeah, we'll see. As I said, we'll see how the Lakers maintain the rest of their roster, or who else they bring in, because they could be losing some possibly like really nice complementary pieces also.
They have Caruso.
Yeah,
that's the rumor. There's a lot of Laker fans that I have seen.
Caruso is a huge piece,
and the Twitter sphere that say LeBron and AD can go, but Caruso.
Yeah, I know that's kind of been like
No, I think he's a good energy player that people enjoy. But yeah, obviously, we can't.
I was trying to go along with your bit, man, but yeah, you ruined it. But Jaden McDaniels is who I have going 28. Somebody who it's kind of been rumored he worked out for a lot of teams in the mid-first round. He was a guy at the beginning of the year, like he comes in that Baylor game, and you're just kind of like, seeing some of the things that he can do, and like hitting some of those pull-up jumpers, showing that weak side rim protection, getting a few steals here and there. He like has some ability to put the ball on the floor, doesn't always do the most amazing things when that's the case. He is, I feel, has a really tough time as a decision maker also. As the year kind of progressed, he just kind of, his stock fell bit by bit, but I think it's getting to the point where you just wonder if he's not like a better upside play than a lot of people that may have been chosen before him here. Certainly, like, has there's definite ability, and as somebody that's seen Jaden McDaniels, like I've seen the talent, and I see that there's a possibility that he is like I would say maybe like a just outside the lottery talent.
Yeah, well, that's why I think for Oklahoma City again, this falls in.
Some people say inside the lottery. Yeah.
Yeah, it falls in that degree of like getting a really good talent there, especially like someone who could add length and defense like right off the bat.
Yeah.
The potential is there. It's like, can he get a little bit better offense, turnovers. Obviously foul trouble comes with it, some of his defensive abilities.
I would say strength also is like a huge thing with him. Like it really kind of he just isn't as functional as you would hope due to his lack of strength. But he I think talent wise, I know that I had them taking Tyler Bay in the last few. I'm not sure about Tyler Bay. Like, I think he's right around that range as well. I have Tyler Bay actually out of the first round now, and probably is one of the top few players in the second round. Tyler Bay, obviously a fantastic athlete.
Huge athlete. Yeah.
McDaniel's younger, and I think has more upside, and just like what he's shown as a freshman, and maybe like some of that ability that he could possibly bring to the now rebuilding Oklahoma City Thunder.
So 2029, we got Toronto, the longest running single season NBA champions in quite some time.
Yes, and I am not sure about this, but I've heard some rumblings, so I'm just kind of going with it. And I've heard that there are some teams possibly in the mid to late first round. I think mid is just way too high, but possibly late first round, interested in a JUCO product known as Jaden Scrub. And Jaden Scrub measured well at the combine, has some athleticism, has shown some shooting potential, just some good physical tools for a wing, and somebody that I just think when you're looking at him from physical tools, athleticism standpoint, that there are things to like there. So I know that Toronto is like the ultimate upside play kind of guy, and Jaden Scrub could possibly be that upside play. I could see Toronto going in a number of different directions.
Yeah, they have some, a lot of different players they kind of need to replace.
Absolutely. And I think that whoever Toronto drafts at 29 is obviously going to be the best player in the draft, because that's what everybody feels about whoever Toronto takes now.
It's a good reputation to have, because obviously in the early days of the Raptors, not exactly the reputation, I'd say, that first decade, that Rafael Arujo draft pick did not exactly.
No, I'd say for a long time, you got like Joey Graham, and there were others also.
Yeah, there's a lot. Oh, what was the guy? Radojevic.
Yep, that was a lottery guy.
13. Yeah, that was growing up in Toronto.
That was the last JUCO product that Toronto took in the first round.
But just the kind of thing, it's like, growing up in Toronto, it's like, yeah, there were some interesting times, being there at the brink of, the early days of a franchise. It's very interesting.
Those were pre-Ujiri times, and maybe
Ujiri was
just trying to look into his crystal ball and say, let's turn it around on drafting JUCO players in Toronto.
In Masai we trust, though. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So last pick of the first round. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. And we have Xavier Tillman Sr., I should say, to the Boston Celtics. He has a child and seems to be a great dad, and is a great basketball player.
I like when you can bump yourself up to the senior level. I mean,
yeah. Marcus Morris Sr. and
Marcus Morris did that as well.
Xavier Tillman Sr. He is just good at so many different things. Seems to be a guy that I think might go a little too low in the draft. Just first off, is so damn strong. is an excellent passer, quick decision maker, screen setter, has shooting potential. I'd like that. It's still potential, but yeah, like in terms of box plus minus, one of the best players in the NCAA the last couple of years. Great rim protector also, and just is like immovable. So you're thinking of like almost like a more skilled like Chuck Hayes potentially. But yeah, Xavier just is a guy that you could see getting some great minutes as a backup big, and possibly even like some starter minutes just with his being able to make quick decisions on both ends of the floor, and make good rotations as a defender, make good passes as an offensive player, has touch. He seems like a guy that I still have confidence will be in the first round, albeit I have him as the last pick in the first round, but I just think it would be a great fit in Boston. And I know that at least there are a few Celtics fans I know who are like crossing their fingers for Xavier Tillman to be the pick here.
And you look at, you look at that. This is our, our mock draft. But yeah, you look at it. There's still, some talent left on the board. So there is some second round intrigue. The second round, recently it's like you think this guy is the best player not to go in the first round, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be the, the 31st pick. The second round kind of has a little bit of like that you don't know what's going to happen factor. What are you like? Who do you think are going to be like the top couple players that you're going to hear at the beginning of the first? Beginning of the second round.
Well, Peyton Pritchard, of course. But,
so,
I feel like Peyton Pritchard, like from everything that we're hearing, we've heard rumors of Peyton Pritchard possibly being a first round pick for.
And if you are the person that made the promise, please keep it, because we like Peyton and we're hoping for that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Just as some guys that I know, guys that moved out of my first round from last time, Isaiah Joe, who was somebody I heavily thought of keeping in the first round. I moved him out.
You mentioned Tyler Bay. Tyler Bay,
another guy that I moved down a little bit. I know Jamias Ramsey is somebody that gets talked around as a potential first round pick. Was a great shooter at Texas Tech as a freshman. Showed some potential on both ends of the floor, but at the same time left a bit to be desired there. And you're just kind of wondering instinctually. A guy, I could see Paul Reed being a possibility. Robert Woodard, the second out of Mississippi State. Nico Mannion is somebody that I've also still heard could be a first-round pick. I know NBA people are quite a bit higher on Isaiah Stewart than a lot of draft Twitter seems to be. And another possibility is Zeke Naji, who was indeed the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. Which should have been Onyeka Okongwu. But I remember seeing somebody say that Zeke Naji was better than Okongwu, and I was like, I found a Pac-12 voter right here.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. Again, I think Okongwu will give up the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year any day of the week to be at this end of the draft that he's going to be.
Yeah.
So don't take those awards too seriously. But yeah, I think it's going to be hopefully a solid draft night. I hope to see some good trades. I hope Peyton Pritchard does go in the first round. To me, that'd be super cool. But again,
yeah,
I judge every team that doesn't pick a duck. They're all the worst. So that's on them.
They're all just the worst in general.
Yeah.
That was our Viseland Mock Draft 3.0. We are very excited to come to you after the NBA draft. We'll announce the time on Twitter. I'm sure Jason and I will repost it on our Twitters. We're going to try and shout it out to as many people as possible. If you want to be among the 5 people watching the Viseland after draft party, please join us. We're very down, and we're going to take your questions or comments, and if you have any. But we're just going to give our draft spiel, and hopefully you just have a good time and would like to join us.
And just to be real with you guys, we don't celebrate a lot of holidays, in a family. This is like literally one of the few things where it's like we stop everything we do, and we have a nice dinner, and
something I've done for years. Yeah.
Yeah. So we consider this one of our holy days. So, definitely a big thing for us. So, yeah, thank you for checking out this early episode of Viseland. We will be back the 18th after the draft. So you can follow us at Viseland if you want to email us and be really buddy. We're at Viseland. We're viselandpod@gmail.com. You can find us pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast. Obviously, if you're watching, we are on YouTube as well. Subscribe, like, share. If you're on a podcasting network, give us a review. We would super, super appreciate that. That means so much because, again, hopefully that helps us find more people that are interested in basketball as much as we are. And that's, kind of our goal is to, eventually, start building out this community.
Yeah, would be wonderful. Canada, give us some support. Come on, people. My brother telling me that the Twitter analytics, or not Twitter analytics, but the podcast analytics, I guess on YouTube, it might be different, but it seems at least as far as people listening to the pod, it seems like Canada's not showing the same love.
Yeah,
man.
I'd say the countries I'll shout out is the United States, Germany, Australia, UK, and actually on YouTube we get some love from Israel. I think it's our Deni Avdija content. It's really putting it up. I think we had 1 week at
It might be our Michal Avivi content.
It might be specifically geared for one person, but you know what? Thank you. If I notice,
I'm giving props to Oren Manor too. I'm sure. I always send it to Oren, and I think he's been showing us some love. So yeah, thank you, Israel. Thank you, whoever.
Germany, Australia,
yeah,
England, USA, Canada. We love you. We were born there.
Come on,
give us a little something.
Chris Boucher, show us some love, my man.
Yeah, we got a Chris Boucher jersey.
We love you.
I keep a jersey in the background of the show every time. I have other jerseys. I keep
a literal Chris Boucher jersey in the background every time. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody for stopping by. I am NBA Draft Mikey V on Twitter. He is at Jay Weisenberg on all social media. One day I'll get everything together, I'm sure. But in the meantime, follow me on Twitter. I'm up to 1,800. I want to thank every single person who's ever followed me on Twitter. And yeah, I'm just trying to build those numbers, build out the community. Also, the thing I want to shout out, just did Pro Insight, who I work for, just did an interview with Chet Holmgren, who crushed the game on ESPN2 against Ipsy Prep, and Imani Bates was great in that as well. There were a lot of other great prospects in that game. Ipsy is just full of great prospects. There was a guard on Team Sizzle that really stepped up, and that was a lot of fun. Scored 8 3-pointers. And but yeah, Chet was the story, and Prince of the League Bay, his teammate, had a couple nice plays, and we did an interview with him as well. But yeah, read the interview with Chet Holmgren. They also did a fantastic video breakdown of Chet Holmgren, which is on our Pro Insight YouTube channel. So check out the Viseland YouTube channel, check out the Pro Insight YouTube channel, and get a lot of great basketball content from both places.
We'll put a link in the description. But thank you guys so much, and we'll catch you after the draft.